He barged into my house, screamed at my wife, and called my child a freak. That was the last time I ever called him Dad. I grew up in a house where yelling was normal. My father believed that being harsh made you strong. He skipped every school play, every birthday, but he never missed a chance to criticize. As an adult, I created a life without him, found a job, got married, had a son. Years passed. One day, he called out of the blue. "I want to meet my grandson," he said. I hesitated, but part of me hoped he'd changed. I agreed. He came over. At first, things seemed okay. He even brought a toy. But when my 3-year-old got scared and started crying, my father snapped, "What's wrong with him?" "You're raising a weakling. He cries like a girl." I calmly asked him to stop. He didn't. He exploded, started yelling at my wife, saying she was too soft, that she was ruining his grandson. I stood up and said the words I never thought I'd say, "Get out, and don't ever come back." He slammed the door on his way out. My phone rang nonstop for days. My mom, uncles, cousins telling me to make peace. But I stayed firm. Listen, sometimes protecting your family means walking away from the one you were born into. I caught a senior manager stealing from the company, and when I reported it, guess who got fired? I worked at a tech company for almost 2 years. Nothing fancy, just IT support, helping employees fix hardware and software issues. One day, I noticed something strange. A senior project manager asked me to clean his laptop. But when I backed up the files, I found folders labeled contract copies and vendor duplicates. Inside were multiple invoices for the same services, same vendors, same amounts, just slightly altered. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I flagged it to my supervisor. She thanked me and told me to stay quiet while they investigated. A week later, HR called me in. Instead of a thank you, I got accused of unauthorized file access and violating company policy. I was escorted out like a criminal. Would you have stayed silent or reported it like I did? Was I wrong to follow the rules? Let me know in the comments. He poured soda on his laptop and blamed me. But what he didn't know, I had cameras. During college, I shared an apartment with a guy named Max. At first, he seemed chill until he started borrowing my things without asking. Headphones, shoes, even my laptop once. One day, I came home to find Max furious. His laptop was soaked in Pepsi. He claimed I had knocked over the drink while snooping in his room. Total lie. He demanded I pay for a new one or he'd report me to housing. What he didn't know was that I had installed a motion-sensing camera in the common area after some cash went missing from my wallet 2 weeks before. I pulled the footage. There he was, entering his room, soda in hand, intentionally spilling it and yelling right after. I showed the footage to housing and to him. He packed up and moved out that weekend. I never got an apology. Just silence. Would you have installed a camera like I did? Or was that crossing the line? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I was just days away from marrying the love of my life, until I received one anonymous message. That message changed everything and exposed a truth I never saw coming. I thought my wedding would be the happiest day of my life. We had been together for 4 years, and I was absolutely sure I had found the one. Everything was perfect. Venue booked, guests invited, dress picked. But just 3 days before the wedding, I received a message from an unknown Instagram account. No name, no profile picture. The message read, You deserve to know who you're really marrying. Attached were screenshots, conversations between my fiancée and another woman, explicit ones, dates, hotel bookings, pictures. Some of them were as recent as last week. I sat there in shock, rereading the messages over and over. My heart felt like it was being crushed. I confronted him that same night. He tried to deny it at first, but when I showed him the screenshots, his face dropped. "It didn't mean anything," he said. "You're overreacting. I love you." I canceled the wedding the next morning, told the guests, called the vendors. My mom cried. His family tried to talk me out of it, but I stood my ground. On the day we were supposed to get married, I booked a solo trip and flew to Italy instead. I sat alone on the Amalfi Coast, drinking wine and watching the sunset, feeling pain, but also peace. Lesson. Sometimes the hardest truths set you free before you get tied down by the wrong one. Every morning they took my parking spot until one day I blocked them in and waited. I live in an apartment complex with assigned parking. My spot is clearly marked, but for 3 weeks straight, a red SUV kept parking there. Every morning I had to park across the street and walk in the rain or snow while some stranger enjoyed my spot. I left notes. I reported it. Management did nothing. So one Saturday morning, I got up at 5 a.m., parked behind the SUV, and blocked it in with my old beater car. Then I grabbed coffee and sat outside, watching. At 8:15 a.m., a man stormed out, yelling at me to move. I calmly asked, "Is this your spot?" He said, "No." I shrugged. "Then I don't owe you anything." It took 40 minutes, a building manager, and lots of yelling. But he never parked there again. Was I petty or justified? What would you have done in my place? Let's hear it in the comments. He presented my project as his in front of the CEO, so I set a trap he couldn't escape. I was working on a product redesign for 3 months. Long nights, 0 weekends, and constant changes. When the big presentation came, my boss told me he'd summarize the project to executives. What he did instead, he presented my work as his. No mention of me, no credit, just fake smiles, and I worked so hard. So I made a plan. The next sprint review, I prepared a demo with hidden features, functions only I knew about with names like Easter egg dev note. When he tried to demo them at a second meeting, he stumbled, and I calmly stood up to explain the functionality in detail. The CTO noticed. He asked, "Did you build this, or did she?" I smiled. "I wrote every line." My boss was reassigned within a week. I got a promotion. Would you have exposed your boss like that, or stayed silent to play it safe? Drop your answer below. Lesson. Take pride in your work. And don't be afraid to speak up, especially when someone else is stealing your spotlight.